This is the presentation for Visible Learning for Teachers, Chapter 4, Part 3, the Curriculum. What should be taught, choice of resources, and progress. The scholars doing the presentation for Chapter 4 are Jesse Johnson, Chanel Walker, Alicia Wallace, and Sarah Bruce. Part 3 of this presentation will be presented by Alicia Wallace. Visible Learning Checklist for Planning. All teachers are thoroughly familiar with the curriculum in terms of content, levels of difficulty, expected progressions, and share common interpretations about these with each other. Now that the key ingredients of the planning have been outlined, we turn to a critical evaluation question that teachers must address. What knowledge and understanding should be taught? The two sub-questions that follow this are: what knowledge and understanding is important, and what knowledge and understanding is going to lead to the greatest cognitive understandings and gains. The starting point when determining what is to be taught should be the curriculum. This includes appropriate complexity and desirable goals. It is important to consider local, state, national, or international curricula because these can all be different. The greatest difference is often not found at the lowest surface levels of curricula, but instead at the higher order levels. Hattie gives an example of this during the assessment work. They identified 140 specific objectives in reading for New Zealand. When they translated the assessment engine to fit into New York City schools, the same 140 objectives were present, but were grouped into higher order notions in a different manner. One difference that can be found across curricula is progression, or objectives falling before or after one another. Hattie says there is too little evidence as to determine what the best order is, and even in some domains, whether indeed there is an order. What does seem important is the increasing level of challenge that can be involved in choosing curricula to be taught. It is this notion of challenge that is most importantly closely tied to the choices of activities, lessons, and outcomes of a lesson. It is also just as critical that we take into account challenge, commitment, confidence, and conceptual understanding. Planning is often more about the resource and activities, even though Hattie suggests not starting with these until well into the planning cycle. There are millions of resources available on the internet, and Hattie suggests that creating more seems like a successful waste of time. The What Next site, which is part of the assessment engine, is organized by levels of difficulty of the curricula and curricular themes or big ideas. By clicking on a button, a teacher will be taken to various websites that have sets of lesson plans, teacher resources, student resources, web links, open-ended items, and links to teaching strategies. While teachers have no difficulty finding resources, the skill is tailoring the available resources to the next level of challenge for the students. It is recommended that teachers do not keep teaching at a median level, but select more challenging material. Teachers should select an appropriate level above the current mean for at least half the group. If some individuals are at an advanced level, the teacher can select suitable material for those individuals, while the majority of the class is at the median level. The same thing can be done if some individuals lag behind the class. A teacher can select suitable material for those individuals, while the majority of the class is at the median level. During research in 2007, Hattie's team determined the single greatest issue was the need for teachers to have common understandings of progress. Many new teachers do not look at information provided by previous teachers. This puts a hold on students' progress while the new teacher reassesses the levels of the student. The so-called summer effect, whereby students reduce achievement over summer, is probably as much the result of the holding back by new teachers as they reassess to make their own judgments as it is to students having been on summer break. This drop could be reduced if transfer plans were provided and information from previous teachers was valued. The way in which learning progresses is often decided by a committee because there are recommendations for the proper sequence. However, it is more critical to analyze closely how students actually progress because progression can differ relative to what students already know. Because we send students to school to make progress beyond what they bring at the start, hence progress is among the most critical dimensions for judging the success of schools. If there is an emphasis on levels of attainment, then those schools that start with students above the norm will appear to be the most effective, and conversely, those that start with students well below the norm will appear to be the least effective. There's the references. Thank you for listening.